Let's move on and talk about this guy. Oh, I love talking about this guy. Anthony Rendon, the biggest thief in MLB history. He's going to miss even more time. Can you believe it? He's going to have hip surgery and is expected to miss a large amount of the season.
Wow.
Holy crap. I thought it was a joke when I first read it. I was like, there's no way this guy's missing more time. Oh, and then my brain starts to think, is this a conspiracy theory? Is Rendon faking it because he doesn't want to show up to work? Oh, I got to have a hip surgery and all this crap. What are your reactions to Rendon?
Well, I mean, who knows, maybe. But, like, I almost feel bad for him in a way. But I do and I don't because, like, it feels like he could have addressed the media and addressed these things so differently, but it's just because he's kind of treated baseball as just being this job that he doesn't really care about.
Yeah.
That, like, I don't feel bad for him. I certainly feel bad for the LA Angels though and their fans, right? Like you went out, you got this guy after he had a couple monster seasons with Washington, after he won a World Series with Washington, right? And you're thinking to yourself, okay, we're gonna pair this guy up with Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani at the time, and we are going to have one hell of a number 3. And if all those guys were playing at their primes, I mean, fuck, then, yeah, that's the best top 3 in all of baseball right there, if they're all playing at their primes.
Oh, yeah.
But that just didn't happen. And Anthony Rendon, since coming to the LA Angels, has spent the majority of his time on the IL and is now going to continue to do so. The expectations for him at this point, nil. If they could cut that contract completely, they would have done it years ago.
Yeah, I agree. I'm also looking at just like overall highest paid contracts. He is the 10th highest AAV in all of baseball at $35 million. Like, and these are amongst guys like Mike Trout. I mean, he's also injured too, but I think you got a good amount of chunk out of him. Juan Soto, Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge, all the guys. Oh, and now Alex Bregman. He's top 5. That's crazy. But the point being is, like, this guy hasn't been on the field, and to your point, I feel bad for the Angels fans. But I do not feel bad for Anthony Rendon. Like, once you came out and you said that you don't care, or not that you don't care, but you don't. Yeah, like, it's kind of just like a job to me, like da-da-da. Okay, well, if it's just a job to you, I'm thinking about back when I used to work a 9 to 5. If it's just a job to you, I wouldn't feel bad about missing work. In fact, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm getting paid leave. This is awesome. So if that's the way you feel, then, I mean, good for you, but that's why I don't feel bad for you. Like, if that's the way you really see it, then whatever. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I certainly hear you, man. Like, and I think that's why I pulled back on saying that. Like, if he was out there, like, really giving it his all and wanting to be out there, then it's like, shit, dude. Like, this sucks. But that just isn't the case. I'm doing some quick math right here, trying to remember how to do percentages real quick. So so bing divided by that equals that. Oh my God.
What's the math?
So Anthony Rendon, he has been with the LA Angels for 5 years now. One of them was the COVID year. That was his first year. 5 seasons. He's played 257 games. That works out to be 36% of the entire. And I factored in the COVID year too. So I gave it 60. Right. He's played in 36% of the total LA Angel games since coming to the Angels, and in that period of time, he has amassed 3.7 WAR and a 717 OPS in 5 years. And he's got paid well over $1 million in that time frame, closer to like $200 million actually in that time frame.
Okay, I gotta look this up because, like, we were, there's always the debate of, like, what's the worst contract in history?
Right.
I think Rendon's is starting to get up there because the one other guy people who owned the worst contract in history was Chris Davis of the Baltimore Orioles for quite a long time. I forget exactly when he signed. I want to say it was like after 2015. Someone will have to fact check me on that. But after he signed, he had an OPS of 670. It wasn't the fact that he wasn't on the field. Like, he was on the field a lot, like 157 games, 128 games, 128 games, 105 games. But it was the fact that he had a 670 OPS. He still hit 92 bombs, but he had a negative .27 WAR. So he actually hurt your team that entire time when he was on the field. And I got to look up his contract. I'm going to look it up. But there's an argument there. Do you think, once I find the details, do you think that Rendon could be possibly the worst contract in all of baseball?
It is quite horrendous because, dude, he's a free agent in 2027, so you still have him for 2025, 2026. And then would that be the 2027 year or I guess probably, right?
Let me see. Actually, I got him right over here. He'd be a free agent in 2027. That's when he's a free agent.
So after that season. So they got him for 3 more years. He's barely going to play this year. I mean, I think when it's all said and done, you're probably going to be looking at Anthony Rendon playing about a third of the total games that he could have played. Mm-hmm. And let's face it, like, he's old now and he's injured. He's not going to be playing well.
Right.
So, you know, like, and I could even see them cutting him in his final year. So it might not even be a third. It might even be lower than that.
Right.
And, like, if you end up paying somebody, you know, like $245 million and they play, like, you know, 28% of the total games that they could have, and when they were on the field, they suck.
Yeah.
That might do it, actually.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I did find Davis's contract. Granted, this was 10 years ago, so this at the time was like a lot of money. He was a 7-year, $161 million contract. Even nowadays, you're like, wow, that's a lot of money. But back then, that was like, whoa, like you were on the creme de la crop or whatever. Yeah, I mean, it is an argument to be made when Davis actually he was on the field, but just hurt your team in more ways than I remember there was literally a hitless streak of like 54 games or some shit like that. It was insane. Like, it was so bad. What do you think's worse, being on the field and sucking more, or like giving you and hurting your team, or not playing at all? But when you do play, it's kind of okay.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
They're both shit.
They're both really bad.
There's a good debate to have out there. Some baseball stat nerds probably should come up with like what's worse in terms of dollar amount.
Like, okay, this is the shit that like I don't know about, like with WAR and stuff like that. Okay, so Anthony Rendon, he had 206 at bats last year. He had a .6 WAR. Okay, so positive, that helped, but he only had a 66 OPS plus.
Right.
Like, how does that? Where does the 574 OPS?
Is it defense good?
Maybe, I don't know. But, you know, like, it's sure as fuck couldn't have been the offense.
No,
you know,
it's definitely not.
I don't know, man. Like, this guy looks like a complete dead spot in the lineup. You know, he's a terrible person for the clubhouse.
Yeah.
They're both horrendous.
They're both horrendous. Maybe some stat nerds have to look up, like, when Rendon is off the field, does the team get better? Because could you make a twisted argument that, well, you know, technically we got a little bit better when he wasn't on the field?
I think you'd have, like, honestly, yes, dude. Like, you look at the numbers, like, they're horrendous. If I was an Angels fan, I would never want this guy in the lineup ever.
No.
Like, legitimately ever. If he gets a start over anyone, even if we're talking about, like, some 28-year-old, you know, AAA guy who's not a prospect, but he's just a guy, I'd want that guy in over Anthony Rendon.
Who is there? I got it right here. Who is their third baseman? Oh, it's Yohan Moncada. There you go.
You're making up for it. That's your plan.
That's why you signed him.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. They're moving on. They're moving on from Anthony Rendon.
I wonder if they made that. Well, they're probably not. But like, I wonder if they made that signing knowing that, like. Well, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket science to realize that Rendon's going to get injured again. I was going to say, wonder if they made that signing because they knew there was going to be a problem with him.
I'm sure that they knew. I'm sure they knew something.
But there's always going to be a problem with him.
Yeah.
You don't even need to like ask me, or I don't even need to know about the situation. I know that he's going to be hurt this year.
Yeah, exactly. You know? I'm sure that they knew something, man. I'm sure it was like, oh shit, Rendon's getting looked at again for this, and it's not looking good. You know, maybe they didn't have full confirmation, but like, I guarantee they knew.
Wow. Well, that's Anthony Rendon. The story of him continues. Just more wasted and burnt money going into nothing. Hopefully for Angels fans, you at least get Mike Trout back this year.